The member for Stirling.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Veterans and Defence Personnel. Will the Minister please update the House on how the Morrison government is supporting our veterans, and specifically how we're addressing suicide within both the serving and the ex-serving community?
The Minister for Veterans Affairs and Defence Personnel.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. I do thank the member for Stirling for his question, and I recognise his service in uniform to our nation, as I recognise all members in this place who served, and say to them quite simply thank you for that service. And I know that I speak, Mr Speaker, on behalf of all members of this place when I say that the only acceptable number of suicides in our veteran community or our defence community is 0. And this government has made mental health an absolute priority in the Veterans Affairs portfolio over the past 8 months. And since the election, I've conducted a national summit involving the ex-service community and experts in the field. We've also had a review of the national strategy, the action plan dealing with mental health issues, and that draft is out now for public consultation. And, Mr Speaker, very importantly, we've also listened to the families, the grieving families of those who lost their loved ones. And we did hear the calls, Mr Speaker, for a Royal Commission. The Prime Minister and I both met with families and heard those calls. And the Prime Minister asked me to look at all the options. And over the past 2 months, we have looked at all of the options. And the policy we announced today, Mr Speaker, our National Commissioner for Defence and Veteran Suicide Prevention, is better than a Royal Commission. And the reason I say it's better than a Royal Commission, Mr Speaker, is because it provides enduring powers to investigate all deaths by suicide of veterans and defence members, not just now but into the future as well if that tragically occurs. We also announced today, Mr Speaker, there would be the appointment of an interim commissioner to review more than 400 deaths by suicide since 2001, and we announced the appointment of a family advocate, and those positions will be advertised in the normal course of business over the coming weeks. Mr Speaker, I want to take the opportunity today to thank the grieving families who had the courage to talk to me, to talk to Leader of the Opposition, to talk to other members in this place and to the Prime Minister. And for them I would say this is a victory for you, and I hope you can draw some solace from the announcement today. It doesn't bring back your lost sons and daughters, but it will help to save lives in the future. This is a very complex policy area. Each case is unique, and there are multiple factors that contribute to a person taking their own life. There has been some major change in the last few years, Mr Speaker. The government now provides more than $230 million through the Veterans Affairs Department for Veterans' Mental Health. We provide free mental health support for all veterans and their families. There is a new veteran payment in place, and I must say that those changes were all made with the support of those opposite. We now provide mental health first aid training through our RSLs, and for the first time psychiatric assistance dogs are being provided by DVA to veterans where we believe it can help. We're also working to improve the transition from defence into the civilian community. And I'd encourage anyone listening today who's concerned by anything we've said in this place that's affecting their own mental health to contact Open Arms on 1800 011 046. We need to start working together to reduce and prevent suicides in our veteran community. The hard work begins today. We have the basic framework in place. Now we need to implement it in cooperation with the states. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
And the member for Blair has indicated he wants to associate himself with the remarks of the Minister. The member for Blair.
Yeah, thank you on indulgence. I associate the opposition with the remarks of the Minister. Thank the Minister for the constructive way that he and his staff have worked with myself and the Shadow Minister for Defence in relation to the briefing today. Labor offers constructive bipartisanship. He's absolutely correct. One death is one death too many. I thank the brave men and women who serve each and every day, and their families, and particularly the advocates who have fought for a good outcome for those it's serving and those in the communities they deal with, and we mourn with them. We mourn with them for the tragic loss of their loved ones.